It's a small thing, but it is one of those hidden things that drivers often get trapped by unexpectedly.
Let's start with some of the most prominent safety blitzes. There's three big ones that CVSA, the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, puts on every
Mhm.
year. Can you kind of walk us through what those three are?
Yes. So every year, the CBSA puts on a international road check, a safe driver week, and some like brake safety campaign. The specific names of them sometimes change. It just really depends on what the schedule is for the year. But oftentimes the road check is scheduled for the kind of end of spring, usually in May. This year it's May 13th through 15th. Operation Safe Driver Week is in the middle of the summer, typically. And the brake safety campaign is usually towards the end of summer, beginning of fall. That Operation Safe Driver Week this year is July 13th through 19th. And the brake safety campaign this year, 2025, is August 24 through 30.
Now, we have a lot of single state or multi-state safety blitzes as well, as I recall, and those
Mhm.
can pop up just about anywhere at any time, right?
That's correct. Oftentimes, the DOT within a state organizes themselves for a specific blitz. If they are seeing patterns, and this is really blitzes in general, but if they're seeing patterns of violations, their concern grows over specific things that are happening on the roads in their area, they'll run a safety blitz in order to try and cut down on those things that they see as hazardous.
Some of these, like you mentioned, Brake Safety Week, those involve a focus on just one thing. Um, and but at any point during any of these, a trucker is probably looking at a level one inspection. And I thought it'd be useful for folks listening if we can define what we mean by level one. What does that term refer to?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are three levels of a DOT safety inspection, um, and they kind of range um, in complexity and depth, from just kind of looking around at maybe the truck, taking just a quick look at it for the uh, like the lights are working, that sort of thing, to all the way down to like going through the driver's logs and basically picking over everything with a fine-tooth comb. So a level three is basically just a quick look at the driver's uh, credentials. Very simple. The level two is the walk around that I was talking about, and it can be pretty systematic, having the driver turn on and off lights, checking brake lines, that sort of thing. And then that level one that you mentioned is the most thorough. Everything that can be inspected about the driver and the vehicle is gone over by the DOT inspector.
So looking at the level one again, I know there's a lot of stuff that you have to have ready or you should have prepared in order to successfully go through that. There's obviously equipment considerations, but paperwork is a big part of these, and there's quite a bit of it. Um, what sort of paperwork should you have in place or ready to go to an inspection officer when one of these safety blitzes is going on?
Definitely. So, a lot of drivers, they're professionals. They've been doing this a long time, and they are generally pretty aware. They've done training on what paperwork they need to have in the truck. Things like your bill of lading if you're under load, things like your med card, your insurance, your license, obviously, um, and your logs. Some places where drivers tend to get tripped up that we've seen, just little details that can really come back to bite you if you're not paying attention, are certifying your logs every day. Make sure that after that 24-hour period is passed, that you've got that signature on your logs, making sure that the DOT officer sees that you are paying attention to your logs and you're rectifying them as you go along. And then also something that trips drivers up. that you really should check before you know a safety blitz is coming is your med card. There's a um, kind of a scary amount of steps between getting your medical certification re-upped and it appearing properly on your driver's license record. Sometimes that process can get messed up by the administrators who are communicating with one another behind the scenes, and you often don't know until you get pulled in and get put out of service because the officer's like, well, your med card's not current. Sorry, you can't drive this truck. So before a safety blitz, it would probably be well worth it to go and just give your DMV a call and say, hey, just want to make sure that you have my current medical cert, that my med card is up to date, everything is good to go. It's a small thing, but it is one of those hidden things that drivers often get trapped by unexpectedly.
Now let's turn now to the equipment because that's the other half of the equation. And what sort of equipment considerations are there or things that you should be looking at before you get pulled in on one of these inspection blitzes?
Mhm. So if the inspection blitz has a specific focus that you know of, like brakes, for instance, you'll want to check your brakes as thoroughly as you can. However, if it is more generalized, then you'll want to do probably the same level that a careful driver would be doing of just a walk around, pre-trip inspection, a mid-trip inspection of their lights, their brakes, their connectors, all those sorts of things. And it's nearly impossible because the sheer number of different things that can go wrong on a truck, it's nearly impossible to make sure that everything is perfect all the time. Oh, tires was the other main one that I was thinking of. Check your tires. Um, but one thing that you can do is just be a little bit more intentional when you are doing these inspections before or during a safety blitz that you know is coming up. And a lot of this is really just about awareness. Hey, I know I'm going to be driving during this time. I know that I will likely be pulled over during this time. Let me, like, if I wouldn't normally crawl up under the truck, let me just get up under the truck real quick. If I wouldn't normally do a full walk around in my mid-trip inspection, just the pre-trip. Well, maybe when I do my 30-minute stop, I will spend part of that time checking my lights again, just real quick.
Let's go to the moment that you're pulled over here, because especially when you get to road check, there will be thousands of trucks that get pulled either into a way station, stopped in a rest area. It might even just be at roadside. Once you're pulled over, or once an inspection is imminent, it's about to take place, walk us through what a trucker should do to deal with that situation once you're in it. What are the first steps?
Mhm. So you'll definitely want to be listening for what the DOT officer is directing you to do. One thing to keep in mind is the other side of this coin. These DOT officers are running at a really high capacity, and they are trying to get a lot of things done very quickly. If it's a little ways into the blitz, they're probably pretty tired, and they've seen a lot of other trucks and talked to a lot of other drivers. One thing that is extremely unfortunate that we've seen crop up during blitzes is if a driver's not paying a special attention to an officer, he can accidentally like drive off if he thinks he's done, or if he thinks like, oh, the officer isn't paying attention to me, like he's talking to this other guy. I think I'm good to go. And he'll move the truck to a different area of the way station or whatever, and the officer will go and probably with a little bit of crankiness give him a violation for moving it appropriately or not listening to a DOT officer's instructions. You can get violations for those sorts of things. Okay, so the main thing is be paying attention to the officers and what they want you to do. Obviously, pull out your paperwork, make sure that everything is good for an inspection. One thing also that drivers often get caught in is you pull up to a stop and you're waiting on the inspection. Maybe you're in a line of trucks. The guy in the front's getting inspected. You're number five. You pull out your phone. Do not do that. You take off your glasses to give your eyes a break. Do not do that. Officers may walk up to your truck at any time, and if they look at your license and they see corrective lenses required, you're sitting in the driver's seat with the truck on, and your licenses or your glasses are on the dashboard. That's a big problem. Um, the main thing that people need to know about DOT inspections is that they only cover a snapshot in time. It doesn't matter what happened 5 minutes ago or 5 minutes from now. If the DOT officer sees a violation right now, that violation is valid. If your glasses are on the dash, if your phone is in your hand right now, it doesn't matter how safe you were before, you're in violation. So please be careful.
Um, Once you've got, let's say, through the inspection, let's say you get an out of service order or some kind of citation. What are your options if you don't think you deserved that out of service order citation and you want to keep it off your record? What can you do?
Okay. So the very first thing to do is collect as much evidence as you can at the scene. And this also involves playing it a little bit safe with the officer. You don't want to be antagonistic, but you can say something like, Officer, I see these violations here. Would you mind if I took some photos for my safety manager so they can see these violations that you're talking about? Can I take some photos with my phone, hop out of the truck, take those photos if the officer says it's okay, and just try to collect as much data as you can. If you think a violation is not valid, that proof that you might collect there will be essential in fighting that violation later, because the officer is collecting his own observations, maybe his own evidence, and when you go to challenge that violation, you have got to prove over the top of what he said to his superior officer, usually. So any evidence you can collect on the scene, please do so. The other thing would be if you're put out of service or the truck is put out of service, getting some kind of, or I should say, if the truck is put out of service for some sort of mechanical thing, getting a mechanic's receipt. So you got to call in the mechanic or you got to take the truck somewhere. That mechanic's receipt may prove invaluable. If that mechanic writes in a note that says, hey, I checked this after the inspection, whatever the violation the officer says was there, wasn't there, it was 20 minutes after the inspection and everything looked good to me. That's something that you can bring into a challenge to the violation and say, hey, the officer must have been wrong because the mechanic who reviewed this said it was okay. So things like that you can use.
Okay. Well, David, that's all I have on that topic. Thank you very much for the information.
You're welcome.